The camera fades in on Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia. Morning light streaks across the wet tarmac like golden fingers reaching through the mist. A line of new recruits stands at attention, uniforms crisp, faces blank with studied indifference. But eyes shift nervously toward the woman with steel blue eyes standing perfectly still in their midst. Lieutenant Commander Catherine Kate Blackwood doesn't flinch when Senior Chief Petty Officer Edward Harmon walks by. At 34, she carries herself with the quiet confidence of someone who has seen the worst humanity has to offer and survived. Her brown hair is pulled back in a regulation bun, not a strand out of place. Unlike the recruits, there is nothing performative about her stillness. It's the natural state of a predator, economical, watchful patient. Harmon stops directly in front of her, looking her up and down with undisguised contempt. He's old school Navy, 26 years of service, etched into the weathered lines of his face. His voice booms across the parade ground as he addresses the morning briefing, deliberately ignoring proper protocols for equipment inspection. Lieutenant Commander, Kate says, her voice quiet but firm. There's a breach in procedure. The safety protocol for the Mark V demolition kits requires. The crack of Harmon's open palm against Kate's face echoes across the silent formation. The sound hangs in the air for a breathless moment, sharp and final like a gunshot. Kate doesn't move, doesn't blink. The red welt forms instantly on her cheek, but her expression remains unchanged. Her eyes cold controlled, evaluating lock onto Harmon's. She looks at him with the calculating gaze of a wolf deciding whether to bite. "Hoo-ya," she says quietly, the SEAL battle cry delivered not as enthusiasm but as a warning. "Chief, I suggest you call the medic. You'll need one in about 5 seconds." Before anyone can register what's happening, Kate shifts her weight imperceptibly. One smooth, economical movement of her shoulder later, Harmon is flat on his back on the concrete, the air knocked from his lungs with a sound like a punctured tire. She hasn't thrown a punch, hasn't broken protocol. She simply redirected his own momentum and forced a textbook defensive maneuver taught to every SEAL when disarmed and surrounded. 20 pairs of eyes widen, no one moves, no one even breathes. Because what they've just witnessed isn't merely a physical altercation. It's a revelation. This woman isn't just any naval officer. She's a ghost, a legend, the first woman ever to lead a Tier 1 Special Operations unit. Lieutenant Commander Catherine Blackwood, decorated Navy SEAL with 3 combat tours in Afghanistan, classified missions in Iraq, and operations so secret most people in this formation don't have the clearance to know they happen. Within minutes, sirens wail across the base. Security personnel converge, faces grim, weapons ready. They escort both Kate and Harmon to the administration building, maintaining a respectful distance from the female SEAL that speaks volumes about her reputation. Captain William Bill Reynolds paces his office, the early light casting long shadows across the polished floor. At 62, he walks with the fluid grace of a man who has kept himself combat-ready despite his age. The Gulf War service medals on his dress uniform catch the light as he turns. "Lieutenant Commander Blackwood," he says, his voice deep and measured, "you understand how serious this is?" Kate stands at perfect attention, her posture straight as a blade. "Yes, sir. A superior officer assaulted a member of his team. I defended myself using minimal force as per training directives." Reynolds exhales slowly. The sound carries no anger, only a deep, conflicted weariness. He gestures to the chair across from his desk. "Sit down, Kate. This isn't a formal reprimand, not yet." She sits spine still, straight hands resting lightly on her knees. The red mark on her cheek has begun to darken. "I served with your father in '91, Reynolds says, his voice softening slightly. "Thomas Blackwood was a fine officer, finest medic I ever knew. Saved my life at Kafji when we took artillery fire." Kate's expression remains neutral, but something flickers behind her eyes at the mention of her father. "Your brother Nathan followed in his footsteps. Outstanding SEAL. And now you." Reynolds shakes his head slowly. "Kate, this base isn't ready for you, so not yet, and you know that." Her jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. When she speaks, her voice is controlled, but carries an undercurrent of steel. "With respect, sir, that's not my problem. I didn't join the SEALs to make people comfortable." Reynolds studies her face, taking in the disciplined control, the absolute certainty. He nods once as if confirming something to himself. That line will probably end up in newspapers one day, he says with a hint of dry humor. But right now we have a situation. Harmon has friends in high places. This won't just go away. I'm aware of the political realities, sir. Are you? Reynolds leans forward, because Harmon reports directly to Vice Admiral James Sullivan, and Sullivan has made it very clear how he feels about women in combat roles, especially in the SEALs. Kate absorbs this information without visible reaction, but her mind is already analyzing the implications, assessing threats, plotting contingencies. It's what she's been trained to do, evaluate battlefield conditions, and adjust accordingly. Permission to speak freely, sir. Always. If they wanted me gone, they could have chosen a less theatrical approach. This feels staged. Reynolds' eyebrows rise slightly. That's a serious accusation, Commander. It's an observation based on tactical assessment, sir. Harmon approached with clear intent. The confrontation occurred in front of maximum witnesses. The timing coincides with my first day back on U.S. soil. Kate pauses. In the field, we'd call that a planned operation, not a spontaneous event. A heavy silence fills the office. Outside, the base continues its morning routine, boots on pavement, vehicles, moving orders being barked. But in this room, something significant has shifted. I'll look into it, Reynolds finally says. In the meantime, maintain protocol, report for regular duties, document everything. Yes, sir. As Kate rises to leave, Reynolds adds, and Kate, watch your six. Not everyone here is an enemy, but not everyone is a friend either. She nods once a soldier acknowledging orders and exits the office with the same controlled precision with which she entered. By noon, the base buzzes with whispered conversations. In the mess hall, in the barracks, on the training grounds, everywhere, the same question. Did you hear? She dropped Harmon like a rag doll. She's Team 6. No way she's like 5'6". Doesn't matter. She's SEAL Team 7. Kate ignores the whispers. She walks purposefully to the female officers' quarters, her footsteps measured and silent, even on the linoleum floor. Inside her Spartan room, she sits on the edge of her bunk, and finally it allows herself a moment of privacy. The reflection that stares back at her from the small mirror shows the bruise darkening on her cheekbone. She touches it gently, clinically, assessing the damage rather than feeling it. Her eyes are tired not from the morning's confrontation, but from the weight of 8 months in combat zones, from the burden of always being the first, the only, the one who can't fail. On the inside of her locker door hangs a single photograph. Kate and her younger brother Nathan, their arms around each other's shoulders, both in uniform. The picture was taken 3 years earlier, 2 days before his final deployment to Syria, before the ambush that left 6 SEALs dead, including him. Kate stares at the photo, the only personal item in her otherwise regulation-perfect space. Her fingertips trace the outline of Nathan's face, same blackwood jawline, same determined eyes. I'm still carrying it forward, Nate, she whispers, the first genuine emotion she's allowed herself to show all day. Just like I promised. The memory surfaces unbidden Nathan's last video call, his face serious in the poor connection. Something's not right here, Kate, he'd said, his voice dropping low. Command chain issues. Can't say more now, but when I get back. He never finished that thought, never came back at all. 3 weeks later, his team was ambushed in a small Syrian village. Official report: mission failure, catastrophic intelligence breakdown. Kate had read between the redacted lines, noted the inconsistencies, filed them away in her methodical mind. And then she'd made a decision that shocked everyone who knew her. She'd applied for SEAL training, determined to finish whatever Nathan had started. Against all odds and precedents, she'd made it through breaking records, shattering expectations, silencing critics with performance rather than words. Now she was here carrying both her brother's memory and her own hard-earned place in the most elite fighting force in the world. A sharp knock interrupts her thoughts. Kate composes herself instantly, all vulnerability vanishing behind her professional mask. Enter. The door opens to reveal a young Lieutenant Marcus Garcia. His expression is carefully neutral, but his eyes betray his nervousness. Commander Blackwood, message from intelligence. They need you to sign off on the Yemen mission debrief. Final paperwork. Kate nods, accepting the folder he hands her. Thank you, Lieutenant. Garcia hesitates, glancing quickly into the hallway before lowering his voice. Ma'am, you should know there's talk. Harmon is filing a formal complaint, claiming assault against a superior officer. Kate's expression doesn't change, but she studies Garcia with new interest. Why are you telling me this, Lieutenant? Because it's wrong, ma'am. We all saw what happened. He straightens his shoulders. My sister's at the Naval Academy. Women like you are why she believes she has a future here. For the first time that day, Kate's expression softens, fractionally. Thank you for the information, Lieutenant. I'll handle it. After Garcia leaves, Kate opens the folder and scans the Yemen mission report with growing concern. Several details have been altered from her original field documentation, subtle changes that shift responsibility for the extractions, complications from intelligence, failures to operational decisions. Her decisions. Someone is rewriting history, and Kate is beginning to understand why. The disciplinary hearing room is cold and sterile. 5 senior officers sit behind a long table, their faces impassive. Cameras record every second from discreet corners, standard procedure for all official Navy proceedings. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. Edward Harmon sits on one side of the room, his face still showing the faint bruising from his fall. Despite this, he manages to look smugly confident. He has the air of a man who knows the system will protect him. Vice Admiral Sullivan presides over the panel. At 58, he's a career officer with a stellar record and a reputation for strict adherence to traditional Navy values. His steel gray hair is cropped close to his skull, and his eyes miss nothing as they scan the room. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, he begins, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Describe the incident in your own words. Kate speaks clearly and precisely, her voice steady. At 07:30, during the equipment inspection briefing, I identified a procedural violation regarding Mark V demolition kit safety protocols. When I attempted to correct the error, Senior Chief Petty Officer Harmon struck me across the face with an open hand. I employed a defensive countermeasure to neutralize the threat using minimum necessary force as per SEAL Training Directive 47B. No further engagement occurred. She humiliated me in front of recruits. Harmon interrupts, his face flushing. That's insubordination, disrespect to a senior officer. Sullivan's eyes narrow. Chief, you'll speak when addressed. Now, is it true you struck Lieutenant Commander Blackwood without provocation? Harmon shifts in his seat. She was undermining my authority. These SEAL types think they're above standard Navy protocol. Someone needs to remind them of the chain of command. So you admit to striking a fellow officer? One of the female panel members asks, her tone sharp. It was a disciplinary action, Harmon insists. And look what happened. She attacked me, proves she can't control herself. This is exactly why women shouldn't be in special operations. Too emotional, too unpredictable. Kate's expression remains perfectly neutral, but her eyes never leave Harmon's face. The calculated calm in her gaze makes him increasingly uncomfortable. Lieutenant Commander Sullivan says, turning his attention back to Kate, your record indicates you recently returned from a high-stress deployment in Yemen. The extraction mission experienced complications. Could stress from that operation have influenced your reaction to Chief Harmon? And there it is, the trap being laid. Kate sees it clearly now. They're trying to paint her as unstable, traumatized, unfit for duty. The altered mission report, the public confrontation, this hearing, all pieces of the same operation. No, sir, she replies evenly. My reaction was tactical, not emotional. Standard protocol when physically assaulted. Sullivan studies her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. This panel will review the evidence and testimony. Both parties are to maintain standard duties until our decision is rendered. Dismissed. As the room clears, Kate notices Captain Reynolds watching her from the back row. His expression is troubled, concerned. He gives her a nearly imperceptible nod as she passes a silent message of support. In the hallway outside, Kate walks briskly toward the exit, her mind already mapping next steps. She's 3 paces from the door when a voice stops her. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood. She turns to face a man she doesn't recognize. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, civilian clothes, but military bearing in every line of his body. Major Michael Hayes, Air Force Intelligence, he says quietly, showing her his ID. We need to talk. Not here. Kate's instincts go on high alert. About why your case got pulled to a disciplinary hearing so fast. And about Harmon. Hayes glances around the empty hallway. And about why someone wants your credibility destroyed before you can ask too many questions about what happened in Yemen or Syria. Kate feels a cold certainty settle in her stomach at the mention of Syria. When and where? Tomorrow evening. Dockside Diner 2 miles off base. 1900 hours. Hayes meets her eyes directly. Come alone. Trust no one on this base right now. Before she can respond, he walks away, just another civilian visitor blending into the base's daily traffic. Kate watches him go, her mind racing through implications and possibilities. For the first time since the morning's confrontation, she feels something besides controlled focus, a familiar, sharp-edged sense of purpose. The same feeling she gets before a mission, when objectives clarify and the path forward becomes evident. Someone had gone to elaborate lengths to discredit her. Someone powerful enough to manipulate Navy disciplinary procedures and alter official mission reports. Someone who might be connected to whatever Nathan had discovered before he died. Kate straightens her shoulders and continues toward the exit. They've made a critical error, these nameless opponents. They've given her a target. The evening finds Kate in the officer's gym alone with the punching bag. Each strike is perfectly controlled, her form textbook, despite the intensity of her workout. Sweat darkens her t-shirt as she methodically works through combinations that would incapacitate an opponent in seconds. She doesn't immediately notice the woman who enters, so focused is she on the rhythm of her strikes. Major Rebecca Foster watches silently for a moment, admiring the technical precision. As the pilot of a Black Hawk helicopter with 3 tours in Afghanistan, Foster recognizes the controlled violence of a combat veteran when she sees it. Your 2 o'clock cross leaves a slight opening on the left, Foster says, finally stepping forward. Almost imperceptible, but it's there. Kate stops, turning to face the newcomer. She recognizes Foster from mission briefings. The pilot had extracted her team under heavy fire during a particularly hairy operation outside Kandahar. Major Foster, Kate acknowledges, reaching for a towel. Didn't know you were stationed at Norfolk. Recent transfer, flight instructor now. Foster leans against the wall, arms crossed. Heard about what happened this morning? Base is talking. Kate's expression reveals nothing. People talk. I focus on the mission. Smart. Foster nods approvingly. But sometimes the mission requires allies. Speaking from experience. First female combat pilot in my squadron, Foster confirms. I know what it's like to be the first through the door, to have every mistake magnified and every success minimized. Kate studies her, assessing. Why are you here, Major? Because I've seen Harmon's type before, men who think tradition trumps talent, who feel threatened by change. Foster straightens. And because I flew with your brother once, Nathan was solid best spotter I ever worked with. He deserved better than what happened in Syria. Kate goes very still, her eyes suddenly intense. What do you know about Syria? Not enough, but enough to know the official story has holes. Foster glances toward the door, ensuring they're still alone. Harmon and Sullivan were both involved in the operational planning for that mission. Did you know that? Kate's mind races. This is new information, a potential connection she hadn't seen before. No, that wasn't in any of the reports I accessed. It wouldn't be. Those details got compartmentalized after the fact. Foster's voice drops lower. Listen, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but if I were investigating my brother's death, I'd take a hard look at those two. Why tell me this? You're taking a risk. Foster's expression hardens. Because I was supposed to be the extraction pilot for Nathan's team. Got replaced last minute on Sullivan's direct order. Been wondering why ever since. Before Kate can respond, the gym door opens. Sergeant Derek Wilson steps in, his imposing frame filling the doorway. He stops when he sees the 2 women in conversation. Sorry to interrupt, ma'am, he says to Kate. Captain Reynolds asked me to find you. He needs to speak with you, said it's urgent. Kate nods, turning back to Foster. Thank you for the sparring tip, Major. Foster smiles slightly, understanding the subtext. Anytime, Commander. Us firsts have to watch each other's backs. As Kate follows Wilson out, her mind is already processing this new information, integrating it into her growing understanding of the situation. The connection between Sullivan, Harmon, and Nathan's final mission cannot be coincidental. There's a pattern emerging from the case, and Kate is beginning to see its shape. Captain Reynolds' office is dimly lit when Kate arrives. The older officer stands by the window, looking out at the darkening base. His reflection in the glass shows a deeply troubled expression. Sir, you wanted to see me? Kate asks, coming to attention. Reynolds turns, gesturing for her to close the door. At ease, Commander. This isn't official. He moves to his computer, typing briefly before turning the screen toward her. There's something you need to see. On the monitor plays security footage from the morning's confrontation. The angle is different from the official cameras. This view captures something the others missed. Just before the slap, Harmon leans in close to Kate, his lips moving in words too low for the camera's microphone. Reynolds taps a key, freezing the frame. Audio was poor, but our tech cleaned it up. Listen. He presses play again, and through the static comes Harmon's voice, quiet but clear. You don't belong here, woman. Just like your brother didn't. Kate's carefully maintained composure slips for just an instant, her eyes widening at the direct reference to Nathan. He specifically mentioned my brother. Reynolds nods grimly. This wasn't a spontaneous act of sexism, Kate. This was targeted. Personal. Can we submit this as evidence? The captain shakes his head. Officially, no. This footage was pulled from a security feed that's classified. It can't be entered into the disciplinary record without revealing sources and methods. But unofficially, Reynolds meets her eyes. Unofficially, it confirms your instincts. Someone is targeting you specifically, and it has something to do with Nathan. He pauses. Kate, what do you know about your brother's last mission? Only what was in the official report. Intelligence failure. Ambush. 6 men lost. Kate's voice remains steady, but her eyes darken with emotion. I requested more details through official channels, but most were classified above my clearance. Even as a SEAL commander, especially as a sister. Reynolds runs a hand over his face, suddenly looking every one of his 62 years. I've been making discreet inquiries since this morning, called in some old favors. Nathan's mission in Syria was officially to eliminate a high-value target arms dealer supplying insurgents. I know that much. What you don't know is that 2 weeks before the operation, Nathan filed an unusual report. He discovered American-made weapons being supplied to the very insurgents they were fighting, high-grade military hardware that shouldn't have been there. Kate's mind immediately jumps to connections. A black market operation using U.S. military supply chains? That would be my guess. Nathan was investigating off books. The mission that killed him came up suddenly with unusual parameters and accelerated timeline. A setup, Kate says quietly, the pieces falling into place. To silence him. Reynolds doesn't confirm or deny, but his expression speaks volumes. I don't have proof, just coincidences and gut feelings. But Nathan was one of mine, and I've never been comfortable with how that mission went down. And now that I'm back asking questions, they want to discredit me before I can pick up where he left off. Kate concludes. It's a theory that fits the facts. Reynolds turns back to the computer, closing the video file and wiping the local cache. Kate, I'm limited in how much I can help you officially. Sullivan outranks me, and his connections go all the way to the Pentagon. I understand, sir. But unofficially, the captain meets her eyes again. I want to know what really happened to Nathan's team, and I think you're the only one who can find out. Kate straightens, her resolve visible in every line of her body. I need access to the complete Yemen mission files. The real ones, not the sanitized version I got today. That's beyond my authority, but you know someone who can get them. Reynolds considers her for a long moment, then nods once. I might. It'll take time. Time is something I may not have much of, Kate responds. The disciplinary hearing is moving fast. I'll do what I can. Reynolds moves to his desk, writing something on a small notepad. He tears off the page and hands it to her. This is a secure contact method. Use it only in emergency. Memorize and destroy it. Kate glances at the string of numbers and letters, committing them instantly to memory before folding the paper into her pocket. She recognizes the format, a military back-channel communication protocol rarely used outside special operations. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet, Reynolds says grimly. If we're right about this, we're poking a very dangerous bear. People who arrange accidents for SEAL teams won't hesitate to do the same to us. Kate nods, fully understanding the implications. With respect, sir, they already killed my brother. I'm not going to let them kill his truth, too. As she leaves Reynolds' office, the light has fully faded from the sky. Norfolk Naval Base continues its nighttime operations, lights glowing across the complex, personnel moving between buildings, ships docked silently in the harbor beyond. Kate walks purposefully toward the barracks, her mind cataloging what she knows, what she suspects, and what she needs to find out. Tomorrow's meeting with Hayes might provide more answers. Foster's information about the Syria connection adds another piece to the puzzle. Reynolds' support gives her a valuable ally. But as she passes the administration building, she notices a light still on in the window of Sullivan's office. Through the glass, she can see the vice admiral in conversation with two men she doesn't recognize, civilians in expensive suits, their body language suggesting authority and purpose. One of them glances out the window, making brief eye contact with Kate as she walks by. Something in his cold, evaluating gaze sends a chill through her that has nothing to do with the evening air. Kate continues walking, careful not to change her pace or give any indication that she's noticed anything unusual. But her senses are now on full alert, her combat instincts humming with warning. The game has changed. This isn't just about a slap or a disciplinary hearing or even about clearing her name. This is about something much bigger, a conspiracy that claimed her brother's life and now threatens her own. As she reaches the barracks, her phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. Docs, now, cover blown. H. Kate reads it once, deletes it, and immediately changes direction, moving swiftly through the shadows toward the waterfront. Whatever Hayes needs to tell her can't wait until tomorrow. And based on his message, someone else knows about their planned meeting. The hunt has begun. But what Harmon Sullivan and whoever else is involved don't understand, what they've fatally miscalculated, is that Catherine Blackwood isn't just any Navy officer they can intimidate or discredit. She is a Navy SEAL, and SEALs are not prey. They are predators. The docks at Norfolk Naval Base lie shrouded in night mist, the water lapping gently against the hulls of massive warships. Security lights cast eerie halos through the fog, creating pockets of visibility separated by stretches of impenetrable darkness. Kate moves through these shadows like a ghost, her footfalls silent, her senses hyper-alert. 8 years of SEAL training and combat experience have honed her night movement to perfection. She avoids the predictable paths, using shipping containers and equipment as cover, mentally mapping the positions of security cameras and patrols. This is familiar territory, the tactical navigation of hostile space, though she never expected to employ these skills on American soil at her own base. Something is wrong. The docks are too quiet, the patrol pattern irregular. Kate freezes behind a stack of pallets, listening intently. The normal sounds of a working naval port at night, distant voices of duty officers, the hum of machinery, the occasional radio chatter are absent. Instead, there's only the water, the wind, and the faint metallic clicking of weapon safeties being disengaged. An ambush. Kate drops to a prone position just as a beam of light sweeps over her previous location. Moving inches at a time, she edges toward the water, using every scrap of cover. Her mind races through options, calculating risks and probabilities with machine-like efficiency. A splash to her right draws her attention. In the dim glow of a distant floodlight, she sees it, a hand breaking the surface of the water, momentarily before disappearing again. Without hesitation, Kate slips into the frigid harbor, the shock of cold water against her skin barely registering as she swims with powerful, silent strokes toward the location. 20 feet out, she dives beneath the surface, using the murky darkness as concealment. When she resurfaces, she's beside a partially submerged figure clinging to a mooring line beneath one of the smaller piers. "Hayes," she whispers. The man turns, revealing a face streaked with blood. It's Hayes, but barely recognizable. One eye swollen shut, lips split, breathing labored. "They were waiting for me," he gasps, his voice barely audible over the gentle lapping of waves. "Professional hit team, military trained. How many? Of 4, maybe 5. Hayes winces, his grip on the line weakening. "Got away, but took some damage." Kate assesses his injuries with a practiced eye. Broken ribs possible, internal bleeding, severe contusions. He needs medical attention, but standard channels are compromised. "Can you swim?" she asks. Hayes gives a tight nod. "Enough to follow you." "Good. Stay underwater as much as possible. Follow me to the maintenance dock, it's less monitored." They move through the black water like seals, surfacing only briefly for air before submerging again. Kate leads Hayes on an indirect route, doubling back twice to ensure they aren't followed. By the time they reach the smaller maintenance pier, Hayes is struggling, his movements increasingly uncoordinated. Kate helps him onto the dock and into the shadow of a small equipment shed. His skin is clammy, his breathing shallow, early signs of shock compounded by the cold water. My car, Hayes manages between labored breaths. Quarter mile, north parking lot, black sedan, keys under, driver's side wheel. Well, Kate shakes her head. They'll have it covered. Need what's inside, laptop, files on Sullivan. Hayes grabs her wrist with surprising strength. Everything I found about Yemen, about your brother. At the mention of Nathan, Kate's resolve hardens. Stay here. I'll be back. If I'm not, safe house, address in my left boot. Hayes slumps further against the shed. Trust no one on base Blackwood. They're all compromised. Kate removes her outer shirt, still relatively dry, and drapes it over Hayes before securing him in a position that won't be visible from the main path. Then she vanishes back into the darkness, moving with renewed purpose. The north parking lot is exactly as Kate expected, two men in plain clothes positioned with clear sight lines to Hayes' sedan, their military bearing obvious to her trained eye despite their civilian disguises. These aren't base security. They're something else entirely, special operators or contractors, the kind who don't leave witnesses. Kate circles the perimeter, analyzing the situation. Direct confrontation is too risky. Even if she neutralizes these two, it would alert others to her involvement. Instead, she needs a diversion. She finds her solution in a groundskeeper's shed maintenance equipment left carelessly unlocked. Within minutes, she's repositioned herself on the far side of the lot with a clear view of both surveillance teams and the sedan. The small electrical fire she's engineered in a nearby dumpster starts slowly, first smoke, then visible flames. One of the watchers notices, speaks quietly into his comm device, then reluctantly leaves his position to investigate when no one else responds. Military discipline, a potential threat, must be assessed. The moment he rounds the corner, Kate triggers her second diversion. A maintenance vehicle with its brake disengaged begins rolling slowly downhill, gathering speed as it moves through the lot. The remaining watcher turns at the sound, momentarily distracted. It's all the opening Kate needs. She covers the distance to the sedan, in seconds retrieves the keys, and slips into the back seat, keeping low below window level. The laptop is exactly where Hayes said it would be, secured in a hidden compartment beneath the passenger seat. Kate extracts it along with a sealed waterproof pouch containing what appears to be passports and cash. By the time the watcher returns to his position, she's already gone, leaving no trace of her presence. The entire operation takes less than 2 minutes, clean, professional, invisible. When Kate returns to the maintenance dock, Hayes is unconscious but alive, his pulse weak but steady. She needs to move him immediately, but standard medical facilities are out of the question. Whoever tried to kill Hayes has resources and reach within the military infrastructure. She searches his boot, finding a waterproof slip of paper with an address in Virginia Beach, 30 minutes away on a good day. The night is already half gone, and Kate knows that by morning both she and Hayes will be hunted in earnest. Making a swift decision, she pulls out her secure phone and sends a single text to the emergency contact Reynolds provided. Medical package, extraction required. Driftwood, Marina Slip 47. Now. 20 minutes later, a battered fishing boat approaches the dock, running without lights. The lone figure at the helm is Major Foster, her expression grim but determined. "You're in it deep now, Commander," Foster says as she helps Kate load Hayes' unconscious form onto the boat. "Captain Reynolds told me you might need assistance. He didn't mention a half-dead Air Force officer." "Plans changed," Kate says, simply securing Hayes with blankets from the small cabin. "Can you get us to this address?" Foster glances at the paper, nods once. "Coastal route, slower but fewer eyes. We'll be there in an hour." She studies Kate's face in the dim cabin light. "You know there's no going back from this. Right? The moment you miss morning muster, you're AWOL. Your career is already over," Kate finishes. "They made sure of that the moment Harmon put his hands on me. This was never about a slap or military discipline. It's about silencing me before I could ask the right questions." Foster doesn't argue, just turns back to the helm and guides the boat away from the naval base with the confidence of someone intimately familiar with these waters. As the lights of Norfolk recede behind them, Kate allows herself a moment of grim reflection. In the span of a single day, she's gone from decorated SEAL commander to fugitive. But something tells her this was inevitable from the moment she decided to follow in Nathan's footsteps. Whatever her brother uncovered was significant enough to warrant his elimination. Now those same forces are aligned against her. Hayes stirs briefly, muttering something incoherent before lapsing back into unconsciousness. Kate checks his pulse again, still holding. The laptop and documents are secured in a waterproof bag, their secrets temporarily safe. For now, that's enough. As the boat cuts through the dark waters of Chesapeake Bay, Kate's expression settles into the focused calm her teammates would recognize from countless missions, the look of a predator who has caught the scent of her prey. Sullivan, Harmon, and whoever else is involved in this conspiracy have made a critical error. They have made it personal. The safe house is a small, nondescript bungalow set back from the road in a quiet Virginia Beach neighborhood. Dawn is breaking as Foster helps Kate carry Hayes inside. The interior is sparse but functional, clearly a prepared location rather than someone's actual home. "How did you know about this place?" Kate asks as they settle Hayes onto a bed in the back room. "I didn't," Foster admits. "Reynolds gave me the coordinates when he sent me to pick you up. Said it belonged to a friend." She looks around with professional assessment. "Military intelligence safe house by the look of it. Off books." Kate nods her attention on Hayes. His condition has stabilized, but he needs proper medical care. "I need supplies, first aid kit, antibiotics if possible, clean water, food." "There's a dead drop location in the garage," Foster says. "Instructions in the drawer by the sink, I'll check it." While Foster searches the garage, Kate examines Hayes more thoroughly. 3 broken ribs, possible concussion, multiple contusions and lacerations. He's been worked over by professionals. The fact that he managed to escape at all speaks to his training and determination. Foster returns with a black duffel bag, fully stocked medical kit, military grade. Whoever set this up knew what they were doing. For the next hour, Kate works on Hayes with practiced efficiency cleaning wounds, applying butterfly closures, binding ribs, administering antibiotics and painkillers from the surprisingly comprehensive medical supplies. Her father's training as a combat medic, passed down to both his children, serves her well. "Will he make it?" Foster asks when Kate finally steps back. "Should. Nothing immediately life-threatening. He needs rest and monitoring." Kate washes blood from her hands in the kitchen sink, her movements methodical. "You should go. Get back to base before you're missed. I can handle things from here." Foster hesitates. "They'll question me about the boat. Tell them you took it out early for engine tests. Mechanical issue you wanted to fix before filing paperwork." Kate turns to face her. "The less you're involved, the safer you'll be." "And you?" Kate's expression hardens. "I'm already compromised. But I need to know what Hayes found about Yemen, about Sullivan, about Nathan." Foster studies her for a long moment, then nods decisively. "I'll maintain contact through the emergency channel. Reynolds will want updates." She moves to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. "Be careful, Commander. These people play for keeps." After Foster leaves, Kate secures the perimeter, checking locks, setting simple alarm systems with materials found in the house, establishing escape routes. The habits of operational security are deeply ingrained, automatic. Only when she's satisfied with the house's security does she turn her attention to Hayes' laptop. It's military-grade encrypted, requiring both password and biometric authentication. Kate glances at the unconscious intelligence officer, calculating the risk of waking him against the need for information. The decision is made for her when Hayes stirs, his one good eye opening slowly. He blinks, orienting himself, then focuses on Kate. "We made it," he says, his voice raspy but stronger than before. Kate nods, holding up the laptop. "I need in." Hayes manages a pained smile. "Thought you might." With Kate's help, he sits up enough to place his thumb on the scanner and enter a complex password. The screen comes to life, revealing a desktop with dozens of encrypted files. "Start with Yemen," Hayes instructs, falling back against the pillows. "Folder marked Sandstorm. It's what got me looking into Sullivan in the first place." Kate opens the indicated folder, finding mission reports, satellite imagery, and communication transcripts related to the hostage extraction operation in Yemen, 8 months earlier, her operation. As she scans the documents, her expression darkens. "This intelligence briefing," she says, pointing to a pre-mission report, "it's completely different from what we received in the field. The hostage location, security assessment, extraction route, all wrong." Hayes nods grimly. "You were set up to fail, Commander. The question is why?" Kate navigates deeper into the files, her tactical mind connecting dots, identifying patterns. The hostages weren't just aid workers, she says slowly, the realization dawning. They were witnesses. Keep going. They observed something they shouldn't have. A weapons transfer. Kate's eyes narrow as she finds a partially redacted transcript. American weapons being diverted to... This section is blacked out. Not in the original file, Hayes says, gesturing weakly toward another folder. Cross-reference with Phoenix Shadow. It's what your brother was investigating before Syria. Kate's heart pounds as she opens the indicated files. Photos appear on screen, surveillance images showing military cargo containers being unloaded at remote locations in Syria, Yemen, and 3 other countries. Shipping manifests with dual entries, official contents listed alongside actual contents, financial transactions through shell companies, and names, dates, locations, a comprehensive map of a massive black market weapons operation using U.S. military supply chains. This is what Nathan found. Kate whispers, her voice tight with controlled emotion. A weapons diversion network. Hayes nods weakly. Run by people within our own military-industrial complex. Sullivan is just middle management, a facilitator with the right clearances and position to make things happen. The real power is higher up. Kate scrolls through document after document, absorbing the magnitude of the operation. Millions of dollars in weapons and equipment diverted from legitimate military channels to various buyers, including groups directly opposing U.S. interests. Nathan was killed because of this. She says, the certainty settling cold and hard in her stomach. His team got too close, Hayes confirms. The mission that killed them was arranged specifically to eliminate the threat they posed to the operation. Just like your Yemen mission was compromised when intelligence learned the hostages had witnessed a transfer. And now they're trying to discredit me before I can pick up where Nathan left off. Kate closes the laptop, her decision made. I need to get this information to people who can act on it. People outside the military chain of command. Hayes shakes his head, wincing at the movement. Not that simple. This network has tendrils in multiple agencies. That's why I was operating independently off books. My own superiors aren't all trustworthy. Then who can we trust? There's a journalist, Hayes says. Rebecca Winters, Washington Post. Specializes in military corruption stories. Has sources in Congress who can provide protection. He gestures toward the documents bag. There's a secure phone in there. Her contact is under book club. Kate retrieves the phone, scrolling through the contacts until she finds the entry. Her finger hovers over the call button, the weight of the decision pressing on her. Making this call means fully committing to a path that might destroy her military career, even if she's eventually vindicated. A sudden noise from outside freezes her in place. Glass breaking, followed by a metallic scraping, subtle sounds that most people would miss or dismiss, but to Kate's trained ear, unmistakable. Someone is attempting entry through a window on the east side of the house. She moves silently to Hayes' side, placing a warning hand over his mouth before he can speak. When she's sure he understands, she retrieves a handgun from the medical duffel, standard equipment in military drop kits, and positions herself beside the bedroom door. 3 intruders based on the pattern of footfalls, moving with professional discipline, sweeping rooms systematically. Not local law enforcement, this is a tactical team, likely the same unit that attacked Hayes earlier. Kate assesses her options, the calculus grim. Hayes is in no condition to move, much less fight or escape. She's armed, but outnumbered, operating in an unfamiliar environment with a severely limited knowledge of enemy capabilities. Standard SEAL doctrine in such situations is clear: engage only when absolutely necessary, prioritize mission objectives over confrontation. In this case, the objective is the intelligence Hayes has gathered, the laptop and documents that could expose the entire conspiracy. Making her decision, Kate moves swiftly back to the bed. They found us, she whispers. Can't move, you can't engage them all. Hayes understands immediately. Take the laptop and files, get to Winters. I'll delay them. Kate shakes her head. Too risky. They'll kill you. I'm a liability in this condition. Hayes argues, his voice barely audible. The evidence is what matters. Nathan died for it. Don't waste his sacrifice. The footsteps draw closer. Kate knows she has seconds, not minutes, to decide. With a grim nod, she secures the laptop and document pouch, then places the pistol in Hayes' hand. 8 rounds, she says. Make them count. Hayes manages a weak smile. Go out the bathroom window. There's a drainage ditch behind the property that leads to the next street. Get clear, then contact Winters. Kate hesitates for one heartbeat longer, professional duty, warring with personal honor. Leaving a wounded man behind goes against everything she believes in. But Hayes is right. The evidence is what matters now. I'll send help as soon as I can, she promises, then slips into the bathroom. As she eases the window open, she hears the bedroom door crash inward, followed by Hayes' voice, surprisingly strong. Gentlemen, you're late to the party. 2 gunshots echo as Kate drops into the drainage ditch, her mind already plotting routes and contingencies as she moves away from the safe house. More shots follow, then silence. Kate doesn't look back, can't afford to. The mission parameters have changed, but the objective remains the same. Find the truth, expose the conspiracy, honor Nathan's sacrifice. By mid-morning, the story breaks across all major news outlets. Naval Base Norfolk on lockdown following shooting incident. Kate watches the coverage on a television in a small diner 30 miles from Virginia Beach. Her appearance altered with items purchased from a local drugstore, hair dyed darker, glasses, different clothing style. The official statement describes her as armed and dangerous, wanted for questioning in connection with an assault on base property and the shooting of an Air Force officer. Her military photo is displayed prominently alongside mentions of her SEAL status and recent combat deployment. They're controlling the narrative, painting her as a decorated warrior suffering from PTSD who snapped under pressure. It's an effective strategy, plausible enough to be believed, leveraging public knowledge of combat stress while simultaneously destroying her credibility. Kate sips her coffee, outwardly calm, despite the storm raging within. She's officially a fugitive now, hunted by military police, possibly civilian authorities as well. Her face is on every screen in America, her reputation in tatters. But she has one advantage they don't know about. Years of classified operations have taught Kate how to disappear, how to operate unseen in hostile territory. More importantly, she understands how hunting works. The patterns, the predictable methods, the weaknesses in standard search protocols. They expect her to run far, to seek distance and safety. Instead, she'll move closer to the threat, operating in the shadows of their own territory. The burner phone Hayes provided buzzes with an incoming text. Unknown number, but the content confirms its source. RW 2 p.m., Jefferson Hotel Bar. Come alone. Rebecca Winters, the journalist Hayes mentioned. Kate calculates times and routes, factoring in security measures and surveillance risks. It's tight but doable, assuming Winters isn't compromised or under surveillance herself. As she leaves the diner, Kate notices a police cruiser pulling into the parking lot. Standard patrol, not searching for her specifically, but a reminder that she's operating in increasingly hostile territory. She adjusts her posture and gait, subtly altering the athletic SEAL stride that's become second nature, adopting the slightly hurried walk of a commuter late for work. The officer gives her a passing glance as they cross paths, seeing only what Kate wants him to see in an unremarkable woman of no particular interest. Invisibility through deliberate averageness, another skill honed through years of operational experience. Kate secures transportation, a used motorcycle purchased with cash from a private seller who asks no questions when she offers $500 above his asking price. The bike gives her mobility and anonymity, both critical assets in her current situation. As she navigates toward Washington, D.C., weaving through back roads to avoid major highways and their surveillance cameras, Kate allows herself to process what she's learned. The weapons diversion network is bigger than she initially imagined. Not just a few corrupt officers skimming from military supplies, but a systematic operation with political protection and corporate involvement. Nathan stumbled onto it in Syria, documented what he found, and paid with his life. Hayes uncovered the same network through financial investigations and nearly shared Nathan's fate. Now Kate holds the evidence that could expose everything if she can stay alive long enough to share it with the right people. The Jefferson Hotel appears ahead, its historic facade a monument to old Washington power and prestige. Kate parks the motorcycle 3 blocks away, approaches on foot, using a circuitous route that allows her to identify potential surveillance or security positions. The bar is exactly as expected, dimly lit, wood-paneled catering to an upscale clientele of politicians, lobbyists, and media figures. Kate spots Rebecca Winters, immediately mid-40s, sharp eyes, constantly scanning the room, the alertness of an experienced journalist who's covered dangerous stories evident in her posture. Kate takes a seat at the opposite end of the bar, ordering a mineral water while continuing her surveillance of the room. No obvious security presence, no one paying particular attention to Winters. After 10 minutes of observation, satisfied that they're not under immediate surveillance, Kate sends a text from the burner phone. Red scarf, far end of bar. Come separately to ladies' room in 5 minutes. Winters receives the message, gives no visible reaction beyond a slight tensing of her shoulders. She finishes her drink, leaves money on the bar, and walks unhurriedly toward the restrooms. Kate follows 2 minutes later, taking an indirect route through the hotel's main lobby. The ladies' room is empty when she enters, save for Winters washing her hands at the sink. Commander Blackwood, Winters says without turning, meeting Kate's eyes in the mirror, you're taking an enormous risk coming here. Half the law enforcement agencies in the country are looking for you. I have information that's worth the risk, Kate replies, her voice low. Michael Hayes sent me. At Hayes' name, Winters turns, her expression sharpening. Hayes is a reliable source. Where is he now? Captured or dead. Safe house in Virginia Beach was compromised this morning. Winters absorbs this with a grim nod. What do you have? Evidence of a weapons diversion network operating within U.S. military channels. Documentation connecting high-ranking officers to illegal arms sales. And proof that my brother's SEAL team was deliberately sacrificed to protect the operation. That's a significant accusation against the military establishment, Winters says carefully. I'll need more than just your word. I have the files, Kate confirms. Complete documentation, financial records, operational details. Enough to expose everyone involved. Winters studies her face, assessing credibility and risk. You understand what you're doing. This will end your military career, regardless of outcome. Best case scenario, you're labeled a whistleblower and blacklisted. Worst case, they'll kill me, Kate finishes matter-of-factly. They've already tried, but this is bigger than my career or even my life. American weapons are being funneled to the same groups our soldiers are fighting. My brother and his team were sacrificed to protect that operation. How many more will die if this continues? Something in Kate's tone, the absolute conviction, the controlled anger, seems to convince Winters. The journalist nods once decision made. I have a secure location where we can review the evidence. Not here too exposed. She writes an address on a small notepad, tears off the page, and hands it to Kate. 2 hours. Memorize this and destroy it. Kate glances at the address of the location in Alexandria, Virginia, commits it to memory, then tears the paper into tiny pieces and flushes them. I'll be there, she says, but be aware anyone connected to me is at risk. They've already demonstrated their reach and willingness to eliminate threats. I've covered warlords in Africa and cartels in Mexico, Winters replies with grim confidence. This isn't my first dangerous story. Go now, separate exits. I'll leave first. As Winters exits, Kate catches a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror, a stranger looking back at her, and in less than 48 hours, she's transformed from decorated SEAL commander to fugitive whistleblower. The weight of that transformation sits heavy on her shoulders alongside the responsibility of carrying forward her brother's final mission. She thinks of Nathan, of the photo in her locker that she may never see again, of his final message about something not right in the chain of command, of the team that died with him, believing they were serving their country rather than being sacrificed to protect criminals wearing the same uniform. Kate's expression hardens with renewed resolve. Whatever the personal cost, whatever dangers lie ahead, she will finish what Nathan started. Not just for him, but for every soldier betrayed by the corruption festering within the system they swore to uphold. As she exits the hotel through a service entrance, avoiding security cameras with practiced ease, Kate's mind shifts fully into operational mode, assessing threats, planning contingencies, preparing for all possibilities. The next few hours will be critical. The evidence must reach the right hands, must be shared widely enough that it can't be buried or dismissed. She mounts the motorcycle, merging smoothly into DC traffic. Behind her, a black SUV pulls away from the hotel curb, maintaining a discreet distance. Kate notices it in her mirror, cataloging the vehicle type and occupants, 2 men military bearing, despite civilian clothes. The hunters have found her trail again. But this time Kate is prepared. This time she has a plan. As the city skyline recedes behind her, Kate allows herself a grim smile. They think they're following her to Winter's location. In reality, she's leading them exactly where she wants them, away from the journalist into terrain of her choosing. The real battle is about to begin. And Catherine Blackwood, Navy SEAL, daughter of a combat medic and sister to a fallen warrior, has no intention of losing. The abandoned warehouse district in Alexandria stands in stark contrast to the polished marble corridors of power just miles away in Washington. Kate navigates the motorcycle through narrow alleys between decaying industrial buildings, the black SUV still maintaining its distance. Perfect. They think themselves unseen, but Kate has been aware of her tail since the Jefferson Hotel. After 15 minutes of calculated maneuvering, never too evasive to arouse suspicion, never too direct to make her knowledge obvious, she pulls into a seemingly random warehouse loading dock. The building appears inactive, its windows, dark chain link fence, rusted and bent. Kate parks the motorcycle, removes her helmet, and walks purposefully toward a side entrance, disappearing inside. The SUV stops 100 yards away, its occupants communicating briefly before exiting the vehicle. They move with the coordinated efficiency of men who have worked together before, one, circling left to cover the rear exit when approaching the entrance Kate used. Their weapons are drawn but held low, minimizing visibility while maintaining readiness. Inside, darkness engulfs the warehouse interior, dust particles dancing in the few shafts of light, filtering through broken windows high above. The space is cavernous, filled with abandoned machinery and stacked shipping containers, creating a labyrinth of shadows and blind corners. Footsteps echo faintly as the first pursuer enters, his weapon now raised, eyes struggling to adjust to the dim light. "Commander Blackwood," he calls, his voice professionally neutral. "This doesn't have to get messy. We just want the files." No response comes except the faint dripping of water from a leaking pipe somewhere in the darkness. The pursuer advances cautiously, checking corners, maintaining tactical awareness. He's good, clearly special operations trained, probably former military, now working private security. But Kate is better. She watches from her elevated position atop a shipping container, completely motionless, controlling her breathing to near imperceptibility. This environment, dark, complex, unfamiliar, negates many of the advantages her pursuers might have in numbers or firepower. It's SEAL territory, the kind of battlefield where stealth and skill trump brute force. The second pursuer enters through the rear door, advancing in a complementary pattern to his partner. They communicate through hand signals, professional and disciplined. Kate allows them to penetrate deeper into the warehouse, deliberately drawing them toward the center, where visibility is poorest and echo makes sound location nearly impossible. When both men are fully committed to the space, Kate makes her move. A small metal object, a wrench she found minutes earlier, clatters across the concrete floor 50 feet from her position. Both pursuers immediately orient toward the sound, momentarily distracted. Kate drops silently from her perch, landing behind the first man. Before he can react, she strikes one precise blow to the nerve cluster at the base of the skull. He crumples without a sound, unconscious, before he hits the ground. His weapon is secured and disabled in the same fluid motion. The second pursuer senses something wrong, turns back toward his partner's last position. Too late. Kate is already moving, using the maze of containers and equipment to mask her approach. She emerges from shadow 3 feet from him, startling him into firing a hasty shot that goes wide. Before he can correct his aim, Kate is inside his guard. The weapon is knocked away, skittering across concrete. The man is good. He transitions immediately to hand, blocking her first strike and countering with a sharp jab that would have incapacitated a lesser opponent. But Kate isn't a lesser opponent. She flows with the punch, using his momentum to throw him off balance, then delivers a precisely targeted strike to the solar plexus. As he gasps for breath, a second blow to the side of the head then ends the confrontation. Both pursuers are unconscious but alive, a deliberate choice. Kate has no desire to kill men who might simply be following orders, unaware of the larger conspiracy they're serving. More importantly, they're more valuable as sources of information. She secures them efficiently with plastic ties found in their own tactical gear, then conducts a thorough search. The results confirm her suspicion. These aren't military, police, or federal agents. Their identification marks them as contractors working for Blackstone Security Group, the same private military company connected to Sullivan and Hayes' files. One of them carries a satellite phone which Kate appropriates along with extra ammunition and a small medical kit. More valuable is the communication device in his ear, a secure tactical radio operating on encrypted frequencies. She inserts it into her own ear, listening to the chatter between these men and their command center. Alpha Team report status. A tense voice professionally clipped. Kate leaves the radio silent, letting command assume communications issues rather than compromise. Based on the transmission pattern, there are at least 2 other teams in the field likely closing in on this location or positioned at fallback points. Time is running short. The unconscious contractors will be missed soon, triggering an escalated response. Kate retrieves the laptop and documents from their hiding place inside an air duct. She'd never brought them into the warehouse, anticipating exactly this scenario. Exiting through a previously scouted route in the building's basement, Kate emerges 2 blocks away from where her pursuer's vehicle is parked. No signs of additional surveillance, but she maintains caution using alleyways and service roads to create distance. The real meeting location with Winters is still secure, a small law office in a commercial building in downtown Alexandria. Kate approaches with extreme caution, using counter-surveillance techniques to ensure she hasn't been followed after shaking her initial pursuers. Rebecca Winters waits inside along with a silver-haired man Kate doesn't recognize. Her hand instinctively moves toward her weapon until Winters makes a calming gesture. "This is Senator Richard Holloway," she explains, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. "We need his protection to make this public." Kate assesses the senator with a soldier's scrutiny. Holloway meets her gaze, directly unflinching under her evaluation. There's something in his bearing that speaks of military experience, not special operations, but a man who has seen combat nonetheless. "Commander Blackwood," he says, his voice carrying the weight of authority without arrogance. "Ms. Winters has briefed me on your allegations. They're extremely serious." "They're also true, Senator," Kate replies, placing the laptop and document pouch on the conference table. "Everything is here. Names, dates, operations, financial transfers. A complete network of military personnel and defense contractors diverting American weapons to foreign entities, including the operation that killed my brother's SEAL team." She adds, her voice steady despite the emotion behind the words. Holloway's expression remains neutral, but his eyes sharpen with interest. "Your brother was Lieutenant Nathan Blackwood team killed in Syria 3 years ago." Kate nods, surprised by his familiarity with the case. "I remember the briefing," Holloway continues. "Something never sat right about that operation. Too many unanswered questions. Questions that these files will answer," Kate says, gesturing to the laptop. For the next hour, Kate Winters and Senator Holloway review the evidence, financial records showing millions of dollars flowing through shell companies, operational reports with discrepancies highlighted by Hayes surveillance photos of American weapons being transferred to unauthorized recipients, and most damning of all, communication records showing Sullivan and others deliberately manipulating intelligence to conceal the network's activities. "This goes beyond a few corrupt officers," Holloway says, finally, his expression grim. "This is systematic, and it reaches higher than Vice Admiral Sullivan." "How high?" Winters asks, her journalist instincts homing in on the core of the story. "Assistant Secretary of Defense level at minimum, possibly higher." Holloway removes his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. "The political fallout from this will be nuclear." "With respect, Senator, that's not my concern," Kate says firmly. "My brother and his team were sacrificed to protect this operation. My own mission in Yemen was compromised for the same reason. American soldiers are dying because of this corruption." Holloway studies her for a long moment, then nods slowly. "You're right, Commander. The political consequences are my problem, not yours." He turns to Winters. "How quickly can you publish?" "I need 6 hours to verify key elements independently," the journalist replies. "My editor will want secondary confirmation on the financial data, but we can go to print by morning." "Not enough time," Kate interjects. "Once they realize their contractors failed to recover the files, they'll accelerate their containment efforts. We need this public immediately, even if just the core allegations." Holloway considers this, then makes a decision. "I can call an emergency closed session of the Armed Services Committee tonight. Present the most critical evidence enough to trigger formal investigations and protective measures." He looks to Winters. "That gives you cover to publish what you have while pursuing additional verification." What about Commander Blackwood? Winters asks. She's still being hunted. Military police, possibly FBI by now. Once the story breaks, I can arrange for her to surrender to committee custody, Holloway says. Protective custody, not arrest. But until then, I can take care of myself, Kate assures them. I just need a secure location to wait out the next 12 hours. Holloway exchanges glances with Winters, some unspoken communication passing between them. The journalist nods slightly. I have a place, Winters says. Off the grid, no connection to me on paper. You'll be safe there until the story breaks. Kate assesses the offer, calculating risks and alternatives. Trust doesn't come easily after the past 48 hours, but her options are limited. More importantly, she senses genuine commitment from both Holloway and Winters, different motivations perhaps, but aligned interests in exposing the truth. All right, she agrees, finally, but I keep the original files until publication is guaranteed. Fair enough, Holloway says, standing and extending his hand. For what it's worth, Commander, your brother would be proud. This kind of moral courage is what the service is supposed to stand for. Kate accepts the handshake, her expression solemn. Thank you, Senator. Just make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. Siam. The safe house is a small cabin on the Virginia side of the Potomac, accessible only by a narrow dirt road through dense woods. As Winters promised, it's completely off-grid solar power. Well water, no internet or cell service. Kate conducts a thorough security sweep before allowing herself to relax marginally. I'll need to leave to file the story. Winters explains, placing a satellite phone on the kitchen table. This is programmed with my direct number and Senator Holloway's office. Use it only in emergency, the signal could be traced. Kate nods, already planning defensive positions and escape routes should the cabin be compromised. How did Hayes find this information, she asks. He mentioned my brother's mission, but not how he connected it to Sullivan. Winters hesitates, then apparently decides Kate deserves the full story. Hayes was investigating financial irregularities in defense contracts' routine audit work. He noticed a pattern of equipment diversions coinciding with certain overseas operations. Your brother's mission in Syria was one of several that showed the pattern. When he started looking deeper, he found connections to Sullivan and Blackstone. Then he found something else, a classified report filed by Nathan shortly before his final mission. Hayes couldn't access the full document, but the summary mentioned unauthorized weapons transfers and compromised command structure. Kate absorbs this new information, filling gaps in her understanding of the conspiracy. So Nathan did report what he found. The system failed him. The system was corrupted, Winters corrects. But that's about to change. She glances at her watch. Holloway should be convening the committee within the hour. I need to finalize my story for morning publication. After Winters departs, Kate settles into the disciplined waiting mode familiar to any special operator. Alert but conserving energy, mind active while body rests. Hours pass with no communication, darkness falling over the cabin as evening deepens into night. The satellite phone's sharp ring breaks the silence shortly after midnight. Kate answers with caution, not speaking first. Commander, it's Holloway. The senator's voice is tense, urgent. The committee session has been postponed. Sullivan's been tipped off. He's moving to contain the situation. Kate's combat instincts surge to full alertness. Where's Winters? That's why I'm calling. She's not answering her phone. Her editor says she never arrived at the paper. Holloway's concern is evident even through the poor connection. I've got people looking, but if Sullivan's people have her, they'll extract the location of the safe house. Kate finishes, already moving to gather essentials. How much time do I have? Unknown. I'm arranging security through channels I trust personally, but it will take time. You need to relocate immediately. What about the evidence? Secured. I've made copies distributed to trusted individuals. They can't bury it now, even if they eliminate the primary witnesses. The implication is clear. Both Kate and Winters are now priority targets, their elimination potentially worth the risk and exposure to those implicated by Hayes' files. I'll find Winters, Kate says decisively. She's the civilian in this situation. My responsibility. Commander, that's not advisable. Sullivan has resources. With respect, Senator, finding people is what SEALs do. Winters is the key to making this public. I won't leave her unprotected. Kate's tone brooks no argument. Can you get me her last known location? Holloway hesitates, then relents. Last cell signal placed her near the Washington Post building at 10:17 p.m. Security cameras show her entering the parking garage but not leaving through main exits. That's enough to start. I'll make contact when I have her. Kate ends the call, her mind already mapping the tactical approach. The Washington Post parking garage, likely abduction point, minimal witnesses at that hour, multiple exit routes. If Sullivan's team took Winters, they'd need a secure location for interrogation somewhere isolated, but still within reasonable distance of D.C. A memory surfaces. Hayes's files included properties owned by Blackstone subsidiaries. One location stood out, a former military training facility in rural Maryland, repurposed as a corporate retreat, but maintaining unusual security features including signal jamming and restricted access roads. Perfect for holding someone off the record. Kate secures the cabin, erasing evidence of her presence before melting into the surrounding forest. The motorcycle remains functional, but too easily identified now. Instead, she moves on foot to the nearest road, then employs skills honed through SEAL training to acquire alternative transportation, in this case, an unattended delivery truck with keys carelessly left in the visor. By 2 a.m., Kate has positioned herself on a wooded ridge overlooking the Blackstone facility. Through a set of night vision binoculars appropriated from one of her earlier pursuers, she conducts surveillance, counting guards, 8 visible, noting patrol patterns, identifying security systems. The facility is deliberately low profile, no obvious military presence, but the security measures are professional grade. Motion sensors, perimeter cameras, armed guards with tactical training. More concerning is the communications array on the main building's roof, likely signal jamming equipment to prevent phones or radio from functioning within the compound. A direct assault would be suicide even for someone with Kate's training. But SEALs specialize in asymmetrical approaches, finding vulnerabilities, creating distractions, achieving objectives through superior tactics rather than force. Kate notices a pattern in the security rotations, a brief window every 30 minutes, when the southeast corner has minimal coverage due to patrol timing. The perimeter fence there runs close to dense forest, providing concealment almost to the boundary itself. More importantly, she identifies a delivery entrance used by a food service truck. The driver undergoes cursory inspection rather than detailed security, screening a potential soft point in the facility's defenses. Kate formulates her plan, timing critical elements against the patrol schedules. At precisely 3:17 a.m., she makes her move, approaching through the forest to the southeast corner during the surveillance gap, scaling the fence with the assistance of insulated cutters to create a narrow opening. Once inside the perimeter, she moves with ghost-like silence between buildings, using shadows and blind spots in the camera coverage. The main structure is her target, a converted barracks with reinforced doors and blacked-out windows. 2 guards flank the primary entrance, with others patrolling the perimeter. Kate observes for 20 minutes, confirming patterns and identifying a maintenance door on the building's west side with lighter security. When a patrol passes, she moves, covering the open ground in a controlled sprint, reaching the door just as the guard turns the corner. The lock is substantial, but not impossible, designed to keep casual intruders out rather than withstand a determined attack by someone with military training. Kate defeats it in under 30 seconds, slipping inside before the next patrol arrives. The interior is dimly lit corridors branching from a central hallway. Kate moves methodically, checking rooms, avoiding the occasional guard. The building's layout suggests former military use, administrative spaces converted to offices. Barracks areas now serving as secure meeting rooms or storage. A muffled sound draws her attention, a voice raised in questioning followed by silence. Kate follows the sound to its source, a reinforced door at the end of a secluded hallway. One guard stands outside, alert but relaxed, suggesting routine duty rather than high alert. Kate waits, planning her approach. Direct confrontation risks noise and ring alarm. Instead, she creates a diversion, short-circuiting their electrical panel, serving an adjacent corridor. When lights fail in that section, the guard predictably calls it in, stepping away briefly to investigate. The moment he rounds the corner, Kate strikes, quick, silent, precise. The guard is unconscious before he can react, his body carefully positioned to appear as if he's simply seated against the wall, buying precious minutes before his absence is noticed. Through the door, Kate finds what she came for, Rebecca Winters tied to a chair in the center of a Spartan room. The journalist's face shows bruising, her lip split, but her eyes remain defiant. Across from her stands a man Kate recognizes from Sullivan's office, one of the civilians in expensive suits she'd glimpsed through the window days earlier. Your stubbornness is admirable but pointless, the man is saying, his tone conversational, despite the setting. We already have teams at the cabin. Commander Blackwood will be dealt with shortly. Your only decision is whether you join her fate or save yourself. Kate assesses the situation in a fraction of a second. One interrogator, apparently unarmed, focus on Winters back to the door. Optimal conditions. She enters silently, covering the distance to the interrogator in 3 swift strides. He senses her presence, too late, turning just as her strike connects with the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. He collapses without a sound, unconscious, before hitting the floor. Winter's eyes widen in shock, then relief, as Kate quickly cuts her restraints. Commander, how did you later? Kate interrupts, checking the journalist for serious injuries. Can you walk? Winters nods, rising shakily. They haven't broken anything. Just tried to scare me. Did you tell them about the cabin? No, but they seemed certain they'd find you anyway. Kate processes this information quickly. They're tracking us another way. We need to move now. Guiding Winters through the facility requires all of Kate's tactical skill, avoiding patrols, using blind spots and security coverage, maintaining stealth despite the journalist's limited training. They reach the perimeter fence just as an alarm sounds from the main building, their absence discovered. They'll lock down all access points, Kate says, helping Winters through the opening she'd created earlier. We need to reach the road before they organize search parties. They move through the forest at the fastest pace Winters can maintain, Kate constantly scanning for pursuit. Behind them, floodlights illuminate the compound, voices calling orders as the security team mobilizes. Ahead lies 2 miles of dense woodland before reaching the nearest road. Commander, Winters gasp as they pause briefly behind a fallen tree. If they take me again. They won't, Kate says with absolute certainty. But if they do, the story is filed. Scheduled publication in 3 hours. My editor has everything, including Hayes's files. It's set to run regardless. Kate feels a surge of grim satisfaction. Whatever happens now, the truth will emerge. Nathan's death and the deaths of his team will be avenged through exposure of those responsible. They continue through the forest, the sounds of pursuit growing more distant as they put distance between themselves and the compound. Kate's navigation is unerring despite the darkness, her internal compass guiding them toward the road where she'd left the appropriated vehicle. As they approach the forest edge, headlights sweep the road ahead, vehicles moving slowly, searching patterns. Kate halts their progress, evaluating options. Breaking cover now means potential exposure. Waiting risks being caught by ground teams spreading out from the facility. Decision made, Kate leads Winters to a dense thicket 50 yards from the roadside. Stay here. Complete concealment. No matter what you hear, don't move until I return or dawn breaks. If I'm not back by sunrise, make your way south to the highway. Winters grips her arm. Where are you going? Creating a divert on me, Kate replies with grim determination. Drawing them away from you. The story is what matters now. Before Winters can protest, Kate moves away, circling to approach the road from a different direction. The search vehicles, black SUVs identical to those that followed her earlier, continue their slow patrol, high-powered spotlights sweeping the forest edge. Kate waits for the precise moment, timing her move with practiced calculation. As the lead vehicle passes her position, she deliberately breaks cover just long enough to be spotted in their peripheral lights. The reaction is immediate, engines accelerating, radios crackling with alerts. Kate allows herself to be glimpsed again further from Winters' hiding place, then disappears into the forest depth. The pursuit follows, drawn away from the journalist exactly as planned. What follows is a masterclass in evasion techniques, Kate leading her pursuers on a calculated chase through terrain she's quickly memorized, always keeping them close enough to maintain interest, but never close enough to catch her. She creates false trails, doubles back, uses natural features to mask her movement. For over an hour, she draws them steadily away from Winters, deeper into unfamiliar forest, where their vehicles become useless and their superior numbers less advantageous. This is SEAL territory, the domain of the individual warrior who can outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast conventional forces through superior training and adaptability. Dawn breaks with Kate positioned on high ground, watching as the search team struggle to coordinate in difficult terrain. Their frustration is evident in their communications, which she monitors through the appropriated tactical radio. They've lost her trail completely, their perimeter too wide, their manpower too thinly spread. More importantly, enough time has passed. By now, Winter's story should be published. The conspiracy exposed the truth about Nathan's death, and the weapons diversion network revealed to the world. Whatever happens to Kate personally, the mission is accomplished. With that knowledge comes a shift in priorities. Evasion is no longer the objective now. Kate needs visibility, public presence, protection through exposure. She begins moving back towards civilization, choosing a path that will lead to a small town visible from her elevated position. Her instincts prove correct. As she approaches the town limits, a police cruiser passes the officer doing a double take as he recognizes her face from news broadcasts. Kate makes no attempt to flee, instead raising her hands in a clear gesture of peaceful surrender. Within minutes, she's surrounded by local law enforcement, their weapons drawn, but their confusion evident. These aren't military contractors or corrupted officials, just county deputies facing a situation well outside their normal experience. "My name is Lieutenant Commander Catherine Blackwood, United States Navy," Kate announces clearly. "I need to contact Senator Richard Holloway of the Senate Armed Services Committee immediately. This is a matter of national security." The deputies exchange uncertain glances, protocol warring with the authority in Kate's voice and bearing. Finally, the senior officer steps forward. "Commander, you are wanted for questioning in several serious incidents. I'm obligated to take you into custody." "I understand," Kate replies calmly. "I'll cooperate fully, but I need to make one phone call. Lives depend on it." Something in her tone, the unmistakable ring of truth and urgency, convinces him. One call, supervised. The Washington political landscape transforms overnight. Headlines scream across every major news outlet, "Corruption at Pentagon Weapons Diversion Scheme Exposed." Rebecca Winter's byline leads a comprehensive expose backed by documents, financial records, and testimony from multiple sources, including Hayes, now recovered and under protective custody. Vice Admiral Sullivan is taken into custody by federal marshals while attempting to board a private flight to the Cayman Islands. Harmon is arrested at Norfolk Naval Base, his office sealed as evidence. Raids target Blackstone Security Group offices in 3 cities, computers and records seized by FBI teams. Kate watches these developments from a secure holding facility in Quantico, Virginia, technically in custody, but under the direct protection of personnel handpicked by Senator Holloway. Her status remains uncertain and charges still pending, but the immediate danger has passed. 3 days after her surrender, Kate is escorted to a conference room where Captain Reynolds awaits. The older officer looks exhausted but relieved as he stands to greet her. "Commander," he says formally, then breaks into a tired smile. "Kate, you look like hell." "Feeling better than I look, sir." Kate takes the offered seat. "Thank you for your help. Major Foster told me you were the one who arranged her extraction boat." Reynolds nods. "Small contribution. You did the heavy lifting." He slides a folder across the table. "Thought you should see this. Preliminary findings from the congressional investigation." Kate opens the folder, scanning the contents. Her expression remains composed, but her eyes betray emotion as she reads the conclusions regarding her brother's mission in Syria. "So it's confirmed," she says quietly. "Sullivan deliberately altered intelligence to send Nathan's team into an ambush, to protect the weapons pipeline." "Not just Sullivan," Reynolds corrects grimly. "The investigation has identified 3 general officers and a deputy secretary of defense involved in the network. Largest corruption scandal in Pentagon history." Kate absorbs this, her vindication tempered by the magnitude of the betrayal. "And the charges against me being reviewed. Senator Holloway is pushing for full dismissal based on extraordinary circumstances. The evidence you secured, combined with Winter's reporting, makes a compelling case for justified action." Reynolds leans forward. "It won't be immediate, Kate. There will be hearings, investigations, questions about methods. But you'll be cleared." "My career," Reynolds hesitates. "Complicated. You've exposed corruption at the highest levels. Made powerful enemies, but powerful allies too." He meets her eyes directly. "The Navy needs people like you now more than ever. People who put truth and honor above politics and self-interest." A knock at the door interrupts them. A young officer enters, saluting sharply. "Sir, the secure transport is ready. The committee is waiting." Reynolds stands, gesturing for Kate to follow. They want your testimony directly. Full closed session of the Armed Services Committee. Ready to tell your story, Commander. Kate rises, straightening her borrowed uniform. Yes, sir, Nathan's story, and the truth about who we're supposed to be. 1 month later, Kate stands alone at Arlington National Cemetery, the morning sun casting long shadows across endless rows of white markers. She moves with quiet purpose until she finds the headstone she seeks. LT. Nathan Blackwood. United States Navy SEAL Team 8. Honored son, brother warrior. Kate kneels, placing a small object at the base of the stone, a SEAL trident pin identical to the one Nathan earned years earlier. Her own was surrendered during her processing, her status still under review despite the dismissal of all criminal charges. It's done, Nate, she says softly. They can't bury the truth anymore. Sullivan and the others will stand trial. The weapons network is dismantled. She touches the cold marble briefly. You did what was right even when the system failed you. I hope I've honored that. Footsteps approach from behind, deliberate, making their presence known rather than surprising her. Kate doesn't turn, recognizing Senator Holloway's distinctive gait. Commander Blackwood, he says respectfully, stopping a few paces back. Senator, thank you for arranging the clearance for me to be here. Holloway moves to stand beside her, looking down at Nathan's headstone. I knew your brother, you know. Not personally, but I reviewed his service record during a committee assessment of special operations capabilities. Impressive young man. He was, Kate agrees simply, as is his sister. Holloway extends an envelope. The review board's decision. I thought you should have it directly rather than through official channels. Kate accepts the envelope, but doesn't immediately open it. Whatever it says, I made peace with the consequences when I chose to pursue the truth. I know you have, Holloway says with evident respect, which is precisely why the service needs you. Kate looks up sharply, surprise briefly breaking through her composed exterior. Open it, Holloway encourages. Inside the envelope, Kate finds official Navy correspondence confirming her reinstatement to active duty, all charges dismissed, record cleared of disciplinary actions. More surprising is the attached assignment, special advisor to a newly formed oversight committee on military ethics and accountability, reporting directly to the Armed Services Committee. We're cleaning house, Holloway explains as Kate reads, but systems are only as good as the people who run them. We need individuals with uncompromising integrity to rebuild trust. He pauses. Your brother would be proud of the legacy you're creating in his name. Kate refolds the papers carefully, emotions carefully contained despite their intensity. Thank you, Senator. I'll honor the responsibility. As Holloway departs, leaving her alone with her thoughts, Kate turns back to Nathan's headstone. The morning light has strengthened, illuminating the marble in warm golden hues that seem to make the engraved letters glow. The mission continues, Nate, she says softly. Different battlefield, same values. She stands straightening to her full height, the disciplined posture of a warrior who understands that some battles never truly end, they simply transform. In the distance, other visitors move among the endless rows of white markers, families, veterans, the occasional uniformed service member paying respects. Kate watches them for a moment, then begins walking toward the cemetery exit, her stride purposeful and measured. The path ahead will not be easy. Exposing corruption at the highest levels has made powerful enemies, created new challenges. But Catherine Blackwood has never chosen the easy path, not when she followed her brother into the SEALs, not when she uncovered the truth about his death, and not now as she prepares to ensure such betrayal never happens again. A famous SEAL motto comes to mind as she walks, the only easy day was yesterday. Kate allows herself a small, determined smile. Yesterday wasn't easy, neither will tomorrow be. But the mission protecting the honor and integrity of the service, ensuring that soldiers' sacrifices are never betrayed by those who command them, that mission is worth any hardship. At the cemetery gates, Kate pauses for one last look back at the fields of white stones stretching toward the horizon. Among them lies her brother alongside generations of warriors who gave everything for principles larger than themselves. In the Navy, she whispers, echoing the thought that sustained her through the darkest moments of her ordeal. It's not the rank or the badge that makes a true SEAL, it's courage, perseverance, and truth. And no one through power or force can ever take those away. With that final tribute, Catherine Blackwood turns and walks into the morning light, carrying forward the legacy of all those who served with honor before her and paving the way for those who will follow.